My husband and I bought our first home together, but his sister said I don't deserve any of it and yelled at my husband that he's an idiot for not having a prenup. Now his parents want me to meet with his sister to make up after what she said. Posted by you/cat drama. My husband, 38M, and I, 33F, just bought our first house. My husband has a pretty high-paying job. I work and make a decent salary, but our budget to buy the house was definitely influenced more by his earnings. We had his family over last week. Generally, I love his parents. They've always been really good to me, and they're fun. I haven't spent as much time with his sister outside of holiday gatherings, but we do have her son, my husband's nephew, stay with us for a week over the summer the last few years, so I know him well too and love him. So everyone mentioned above comes over, and we show them around the house. At one point, I'm showing his sister a kitchenette in the basement, and I say something like, "It's great that our house has this space now, so if you want to visit us, you'll have basically a separate apartment." And she goes, "Our? Is it also your house?" I'm immediately confused, but also I guess she could have assumed my husband bought it on his own. I said, "Yeah, we bought it together." And she goes, "Do you think you deserve to own half of this house?" I don't know, I just think that's crazy. I was shocked and mostly panicked, said, "Well, I do, yeah," and fled the basement. I immediately told my husband, away from his family, and he in turn immediately went to talk to his sister. I went to hang out with his parents and didn't say anything to them, but then we heard shouting outside. My husband and his sister were yelling at each other. I know people are different with their siblings, but I've never really heard him yell before. I could hear him tell her that we don't have a prenup, and she called him an idiot. I had to tell his parents what was going on. They went and intervened and left pretty quickly with his sister and nephew, who didn't hear any of this through the magic of video games, I think. His mom said sorry to me on the way out. I did touch base with my husband, and he was livid, like way more angry than I'd expect. He told me that before we got married, his sister was the beneficiary of his life insurance, and he thought she was angry over essentially being removed from all his assets, but we've been married 3 years. She apparently had texted him about being added to the house paperwork a few weeks ago during the buying process, and he just ignored her. His parents have reached out to me and have been very sweet and apologetic, but they really want to fix things and have asked if I'll talk to his sister. I'm trying to step away from it and just say it's now between my husband and his sister. Is that fair? Of course, I'm a bit hurt by what she said, but at the end of the day, if she has problems with how he's handling his assets, that's between the two of them, right? I feel really bad because his family has always been so sweet, and I really love his nephew, so I also want things to be fixed. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. What could you possibly say to your sister-in-law? I think you say that the issue isn't really about you, it's about how your sister-in-law thinks everything that is your husband's is partly hers. That's something your husband needs to set straight, not you. You just sit there and stay pleasant. You handled this perfectly. It's not your battle, and your husband clearly has your back. Your sister-in-law sounds insane. Ops response. I know this is right, but it's just really frustrating. We've had the awkward conversation of explaining why we don't have a prenup to some friends and family, and I really don't mind getting into those topics or talking about those things. I know this is different because she's not coming from a place of curiosity or just wanting to understand, but it's wild to me that it jumped this quickly, suddenly, when we bought a house. Commenter 2. And just why does his sister think she's more entitled to your husband's and your assets? Where's her husband or significant other? Ops response. She's been really unlucky in relationships, been with some real crappy dudes, and the kid's dad is totally off the map and has been for years, which is partially why my husband has his college fund and pays for a bunch of his extra stuff like camps and sports. When he comes to stay with us, it's for a private baseball camp thing. Op adds an edit to her post. Wow, this blew up a bit. I will make an update. We have plans to chat about it today and speak with his parents to figure out how we want to go forward. I agree with essentially all of you, and I'm not planning to discuss it with his sister until she apologizes. And to answer some common questions. She is younger, and there are no other siblings. Yes, there's been a pattern of her getting more help from their parents, but it's because she really needs it with being a single mom, and my husband has always been pretty independent. I promise I don't tell every person on the street about our lack of a prenup. My husband did come into the marriage with a lot of assets, so I think when his friends and family expressed curiosity about a prenup, it was coming from a place of concern/care for him, and I love that, so it felt appropriate to share how we made that decision. No one ever pushed back. I've never talked to his sister about it, and I think she didn't know, but my husband sort of yelled it at her in anger in a "we don't even have a prenup" way. We are planning on kids but could still keep up what we currently do for our nephew even if we did. He just became an official teenager, so the college fund is close to complete. At this stage, we don't add much money to it anymore, it's just accruing. Update 2 days later. Holy crap, I was not expecting that much feedback, but I'm super grateful. It was really affirming and validating to read a lot of those comments, and a bit humbling, too. This recent move did shift us a little bit out of town, so while I'm still close to my social circle, I didn't immediately have someone to vent to, and you all were really helpful in that way. To update, she was secretly planning his murder to get the life insurance money. No, not really. After talking a bunch with both my husband and his parents, we figured out a few things. He didn't tell her that he's replaced her as the beneficiary on everything because he assumed she would know that. So she had texted him during the home purchase, "Hey, do you need my signature on anything for this new house?" He had messaged her back, "No." She then essentially asked that the house was an asset set up like his life insurance. And he told her that everything is set up fine and that I'm on all of the paperwork, and she responded, "Okay." So I do think part of this is her truly not knowing how marriage is supposed to work, and she seems to have expected there wouldn't be any change. I found out she also mentioned this with their parents, her main concern being that if something happened to my husband, I wouldn't help her son like we've been doing as a couple. My mother-in-law and father-in-law said they told her not to worry and that I love our nephew, but that was what was going on behind the scenes before all this. My in-laws also admitted that they may have unintentionally encouraged this, because they've always really encouraged their kids to support each other, but due to the various dynamics at play, what that ends up being is pressure on my husband, and a sort of "your brother will always be there for you" message to his sister. This was particularly strong in the last few years before I met and married him because his parents thought he was planning to be a lifelong bachelor. They're not wrong in this, he definitely had that mindset at a time, and so then he and his sister really were, in their eyes, each other's lifelong person. So in the last few years, there had been this level of fallout I wasn't even aware of. I also learned my husband's sister is in a not great financial situation, and due to past issues, the whole family essentially refuses to give her cash but will do things like buy groceries or pay a phone bill. So she's been struggling and, I think, feeling a little desperate and jealous. Of course, none of this is an excuse, and I'm not speaking to her until I get an apology. My husband has also said he needs at least a week or two before he speaks to her, but he does plan to. His parents are totally in agreement and understand. They are going to tell her that we talked about the dynamics at play and that she needs to acknowledge what is going on here and take accountability for her part in it, so hopefully that will kickstart things in the right direction. Being too understanding and too flexible has been a difficulty for me for a long time. Having feedback about how truly messed up that situation was really helpful for me, so thank you. For me, there's a fine line between being unbothered and being a doormat, and I'm definitely working on differentiating those two. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. It sounds to me like she is mad that you are getting her payout. She thought she was getting everything of his until you came, very entitled. Commenter 2. It's not entitled, it's creepy. She's acting as if she is the wife, from the house and life insurance to the support of her child. This is emotional incest and will not stop here. She is depending on her brother for the emotional support and intimacy she would have with a romantic partner, and the parents are encouraging it. This is a serious issue.